Okay. Welcome, everyone, to, well, I suppose this is the first faculty senate of the academic year, but not the first one we've had since the previous year ended. That's weird. Okay. We've had a few meetings over the summer, but it is good to see everyone back, to see everyone in person today. That was actually nice as well. We do have quite a bit to get through. So, Jill, would you be willing to start us off with an opening prayer? Oh, you'll need to unmute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Let's bow our heads. Dear Father in heaven, thank you so much for today and this awesome opportunity that we had to spend time together for one of the first times in a while, and to be able to see each other in person and to learn about what you're calling us to be right here, and both for just the new year, but also for everything that's going on in our world right now. And I ask that you be with me as I share with the faculty this afternoon, and help my words to be your words, and for there to be a blessing for you through me. We love you so much. In Jesus' name, amen. So I think I was a little nervous because I know a lot of you as faculty and as my teachers, and I went to something I was familiar with because it means a lot to me, and so I thought I'd share with you some thoughts from my favorite verses in the Bible, Isaiah 43 verses 1 through 13. And this is my favorite verse, set of verses, because of several things. In the beginning of the chapter, in verse 1, God addresses Jacob as Jacob and then also as Israel. And he says in both ways that you are mine, both in the past and in the present and in the future as we go forward, you are mine. In verse 3, he says that he is the Lord our God. In verse 4, he tells us that he loves us, which I love that tangible example of him outrightly saying he loves us. In verse 10, he calls us to be witnesses for him and lets us know that we're chosen. And in verse 13, he says that no one can deliver us from his hand. And throughout my life, I've gone back to these verses because I needed comfort, or I needed motivation or courage to go through something. And when I graduated from Union in 2018, I went to Sunnydale and started my career as a teacher. And I was nervous, and again went back to this set of chapters and looked to it for guidance. And instead of really looking at it from God is telling me that he loves me and God is calling me to be a witness, just generically, I looked at it from a perspective of God is not just telling me that this verse is about me. He is telling me that this is also the relationship that he has with my students and with the people around me. And he doesn't just call me to be a witness generically. Right now, he's calling me to be a witness at Sunnydale. And so I thought this was appropriate for my journey as I start a new job here at Union. While it feels very familiar, it's a new year. It's a new job for me. It's COVID and a lot of new things and changes that we're dealing with right now. So as I was reading through this and thinking specifically about what I wanted to share with you, or what I felt like God was asking me to share, it ended up being almost like rewriting it and putting Union's name in for certain places. So I'm going to read through verses 1 through 13 of Isaiah 43, but it's going to be my interpretation to Union, for Union. So if you want to follow along, that it's Isaiah 43 verses 1 through 13, but there will be a little bit of differences because it's what I came up with a little bit. So, but now this is what the Lord says. He who created you, union of the past, union who I have been with through struggles and who I've forgiven for previous mistakes and shortcomings. And he who formed you, union of the now, union of COVID, union of new jobs and new changes. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. Union, you are mine. When you pass through the waters of uncertainty, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers of change, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire of disease and strife, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. Why? Because I am the Lord your God, the Holy One. Union, I am your Savior, and I treasure and value you. Since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you, I have sacrificed greatly for you. So do not be afraid, for I am with you through all of this. I will bring the students from the east and gather them from the west. I will say to disease, give them up, and to the trials, do not hold them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone who is called by my name, whom I created for glory, whom I formed and made. And this, I feel like, is where he's calling the faculty and what I feel like his call for us is. Lead out those who have eyes, but struggle to see how God has been, is currently, and will continue to lead us through trials. Lead out those who have ears, but cannot hear God's calling for them and telling them that these are his promises for them. Get campus united. Remind each other that God is with us, and all of these things I have promised are true. You, faculty, leaders, administrators, professors of business, education, religion, music, librarians, you are my witnesses, my servants whom I have chosen, so that you may know and believe me and understand that I am he now and forever. I have revealed and saved and proclaimed, I and not some other God. You are my witnesses to share with union and through union that I am God. Yes, always I am God. No one can deliver you from my hand. When I act, no one can reverse it. And I don't know if maybe we needed a reminder that we're loved individually or as a campus, and that we've been called to be a part of this campus. And maybe with the COVID of it all, we needed a reminder that God is still in control. But I think above all, God calls us to not only claim all of these promises and his call for us, but to help our students understand that he also promises these things to them, and he is also calling them to a specific purpose. And that, I feel like, is what my goal for this year is, and for my time as I start the school year, is to really focus on what these things mean for me as a faculty and how I can share these promises to my students. So will you pray with me? Dear Father in heaven, thank you for calling us to this purpose of being at Union, of having our specific roles on campus. And as we've learned, there are a lot of things that we're having to go through, that it will be changes, and there are lots of changes that still need to happen. Help us to look for opportunities to help our students work through the struggle of change. And most importantly, to let them know that through all of it, you are God, and that you have chosen them and love them and cherish them, and help us to be motivators for our students and encouragers for our students. Thank you for always being there for us and for always loving us through our past and our present and our future. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Jill, for that encouraging word. Okay, so looking back at the agenda, there are a few announcements that I want to go through. Probably the first announcement that will actually tie into something later on the agenda is there with the restructure, we no longer have division chairs. And there's been some question about things in like the faculty handbook that used to be the division chair responsibilities. Are those going to go to program chairs or academic deans? We're going to need to talk about those. We're going to need to discuss those, but please go through and kind of be patient, be grace-filled as we try to figure out how those roles are going to get and responsibilities are going to get divided up. There's also another, we're going to start off with a poll right away. And where's the polls? There's the polls. Nope, not that one. There has been a question, and okay, at UConnect. So basically, the first year experience. Usually, there's a first core class that has been done in the past, and at that first core class, there would be a lunch with the faculty and students in their field, in their areas. There is a question whether they should go through and try to have that same lunch on Friday, August 7th. I did get a text message. Let me look at it. That it would be from 12:30 to 1:45 if faculty are present, but there's some question as to, is it important? Are we going to try to do this? And we've just been asked for some feedback on that. We have 16 of 45, 17 of 47 voting. If we could go ahead and wrap up voting here in just a few more seconds. See if we can get at least 75% voting. Well, as it's not moved much in the last few seconds, I'm going to go ahead and end the polling. And we can see that it is a fairly even split here. And sorry for hearing all the bings and the bongs on my computer. I will pass those along. We're not necessarily voting on this. We're just giving some feedback for UConnect to use for planning purposes. So whether it's a yay or a nay, that'll be up to them. Okay. So, okay. Going back to our agenda, because we have enough on here, I just want to try to catch all this. COVID-19 discussions. As we were talking about this in Faculty Senate Exec, we were looking at things that happened over the last 6 months. Been kind of eventful. We've had a transition to Canvas. We've had coronavirus. We've had a lot of things like that. I know that Frankie has a meeting scheduled for tomorrow from 10 to 11, I believe, on Zoom. And in that, we've been asked to go through and submit our questions so that we're not trying to take them live, but we can submit it ahead of time and get the kind of thoughtfully prepared answers that come as a result of that. When this was put on the agenda for Faculty Senate, I don't know that, well, I didn't know that that was going to happen at that particular point. So I'm not sure that this is going to be a 10-minute discussion. I think I'm going to go through and kind of use a sports term and call an audible on this one and push this one off to tomorrow. But I do want to encourage people to take that message, to think through their questions and submit those questions so that we can try to get that feedback that we need. As I've talked with people, there's been a number of questions and concerns still going around. And if we can go through and get those answers, we can all start the semester with a little bit more confidence in how we're moving forward and, you know, how this is all supposed to work to keep us all safe. And Frankie in chat has said there's been a lot of great questions submitted. Please keep them coming. Frankie, is there a cutoff for when the questions need to be submitted by?
I mean, not really, but you know, the sooner the better, obviously. And I'll paste the link to the survey right into the chat in just 2 seconds.
Okay. But I would assume preference would probably be sometime today and not 9:59 tomorrow. Okay, awesome. And with the Canvas. So again, a big transition. We've moved away from Moodle as our course management software into Canvas. There's been a lot of training that's already been provided. And I would like to ask Debbie Unterseer to go through and talk a little bit about some training opportunities and materials that she has, and then basically just have a little bit of question and answer time where we can go through and talk amongst ourselves as faculty about weird things that we found, things that we should watch out for. I know at one of the previous trainings, there was a comment brought forth by Tom Taves about how you had to go through and insert a new assignment for kind of like one-off grades and stuff like that. At the time, I wasn't really sure what all was being talked about, but that's the kind of thing that if there's any lessons learned as people have been submitting or designing their courses, if we can share those potential pitfalls before we run into them as a collective, I think that could be a useful endeavor. So I'll turn it over to Debbie.
So Ken, if you can enable the sharing.
Oh, I thought I had. Oh, now you're good.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so I wanted to go through 3 things. And one of them is for some of you new faculty, and it doesn't even matter if you're new, but sometimes you don't know where to get all this access for the resources for faculty. If you guys go to U groups, and actually let me go and tell you how to get there. So if you're go to the Union College's website, usually at the bottom, we'll find out. So there's U groups where we can do communication. Here's our link to Canvas if you want, but go to U groups, and then if you scroll down, you will see that there's a link to the faculty website. So if you click on that, it should take you to this website where I have put my Canvas links, but you'll also have all the information about COVID here. You'll have other things like this is the academic restructuring in case you can't remember, which I never can remember that. So all of your stuff you can find here. And if you have suggestions for things, just let us know. But so what I want to show you is I want you all to join this Canvas Technology Resource course that I've created in Canvas. And if you click on this link, it will say, do you want to enroll in it? And of course, I'm enrolled in it already. So I'll just go ahead and say to go to the course. And what I have here, let me view it as a student. So I'm going to do a student view. But you can see that I've taken away access to all these options that you guys might have by default. Just something to keep in mind. I also have this is the resources that I have for you. So remember when COVID hit, thank you, Jody Trana, for reminding me about all the interactive resources we talked about, like Flipgrid and Explain Everything. You can go there and get that link to that Google Doc. But this is what I wanted to cover today, was mainly these things here, and that is, what is the best Canvas training? And I've talked to a couple people, and they have mentioned that if you want to learn the basics of it, this has a nice set of videos that you can watch. It would be better than watching probably Tim Seavey's presentation. It has it lined up so you can choose what topic you want to do. This is the best option to do. Unfortunately, there's no direct link. You actually have to go into Canvas, click on help. So click on help and etc. I think you can follow those steps through. And then I also wanted to say, although I love helping people, there's just no way I can help everyone, and hopefully one of these days you won't be afraid to come to me and ask for help like you are right now. But they really know the best. So if you call them, the phone line there, to ask any question, they have access to get onto our actual courses, and they can actually log into our Union College Canvas page and take a look at what you have. They can actually do things for you. So we've paid for that. So I would love to help you all, but there's probably just no way I can do that. So there's 3 options we have, and I do want to show you those real quick. So here on the side, when you log in, you would have one that's called Chat with Canvas Support Faculty. You have the hotline, and then you have this ticket system where it's just the email type of thing. So you have those options. And then you do have the link here. Okay, so I have recorded quite a few of the live Canvas training webinars. So if you want an hour-long recording of what they actually walk through things, home pages, etc., here's a whole list of things that I've recorded that you could watch as well. There's Tim Seavey's presentation, etc., etc. Lots of resources. So that's pretty much all I wanted to share. I don't know if anyone had any questions on the chat. My chat's not pulled up, so. Anybody? Ken, I'll let you take over.
Okay, I'm not seeing actually anything in the chat right now.
Perfect. Well, one popped up here. Oh, no, that's all. So and I will have to just say that I've talked to a couple people who, I mean, honestly, I don't know all the answers. I know a lot of answers, but I just can't make it around to all of you. So.
One quick question, Debbie.
Yeah.
The Canvas helpline, is that as long as we have Canvas? Is that for a limited time?
I think it's only for a year.
Okay. So
but
if people,
I may be wrong, and Tom Tavis isn't here, so
okay.
No, but I think it's it's just the year.
Okay. So perhaps if people were thinking ahead and had, classes that were on even or odd years or something like that, that were a little bit more technically challenging, they might want to work ahead,
right,
to try to do that while the super help chat line is.
And I do hope that next week, I just came back from vacation, and I'm hoping that next week maybe I'll have a couple hours that I can open up to let anyone join and ask me questions, because I know sometimes it's nice to have someone work you through, but I think I'm going to be like teachers are to their students. You have to do some background work first. So that would include you need to watch some videos and you need to call the helpline if you have a specific thing. And then from there I go on. So, yep.
Okay.
All right.
So I will go through and kick it out to the rest of the group and ask, has anyone found any kind of weirdnesses that they want to share with the group? Or has Canvas been the smooth, event-free transition that we were all expecting it to be?
Oh, Ken, you need to start with the positive first.
No, I said we expected it to be smooth and event-free. And
I will have to say I also do get recording. Oh, is someone trying to talk? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Nancy.
I guess I don't hear anyone talking, and I don't know why it sounds
yeah, I'm not sure that was
for us.
intentional talking.
I forgot what I was going to say, so never mind.
I will share the one hiccup that I've had using the Pearson MyLab and mastering soft module integration. It went through and copied over probably about 80% of my homeworks. No problem, but it just randomly dropped a few of them. So if you're using a third-party module, you might want to always double check that the integration is going completely as you expect. The first several chapters were smooth, but yeah, starting at chapter 6, it just decided, yeah, I'm going to skip a couple chapters here.
And that's a good thing to bring up, Ken. Did you just do that? Like, when did you do the integration part? How long ago was it?
Oh, I finally resolved it with tech support yesterday.
Okay, so you did the integration maybe a week ago?
Week or two ago, yeah.
Okay, so I'm still working on getting, so I have Cengage. If you have Cengage is working, Pearson, MyLab and Mastering is working, Pearson, Revel maybe, but I'm still working on doing Macmillan and McGraw-Hill to get them to be integrated, but.
Have they given you any kind of timelines on when that, or is that more on your end?
Well, no, it was a matter of faculty didn't let me know that they were wanting to have the integrations until last week. And so it's just a matter of getting it done.
Other questions?
So
other things that, go ahead, Debbie.
In the chat, it says, Lori Peckham said, I lost some of the links to the Google Docs. Oh, I guess she meant when you were transitioning. Maybe you did that, Lori. And that's very possible. I don't know. Yeah, you just have to double check. Go ahead.
You know, moved it from Moodle onto Canvas, and then I was checking to make sure the links, and some of them would go to nothing. You know, it didn't link to the assignment, the worksheet. So I wasn't sure about that, but I guess I just need to put them on again and make sure I check that the link does work.
Good to know.
Any other hiccups that people have run across that we should share with the group?
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So you'll find it interesting, sorry, to know that I actually get everybody's ticket system, that I get emails, and I have not had many people even attempt to contact the helpline. So that's either a good thing, that means that we haven't had that many problems, or it's a bad thing that nobody like myself has started to work on Canvas yet. So.
Well, I'll admit some fault there that, like I said, I went directly to Pearson's tech support and they only resolved it yesterday. So, but hey, at least it's not being resolved on August 11th.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like this may have been a fairly smooth transition. So kudos to all those that have been involved, Debbie, Tom, well, Richard and his team have already logged off. But yeah, just thank you for all those that have helped make this a smooth transition. It's very much appreciated. So looking at our transition, or at our agenda, wow, that was a hard word to come up with. It looks like we are going to talk about some academic integrity revisions, and I will turn things over to Ben Tyner.
Thanks, Ken. I just have hopefully you've all got a chance to look at the document at this point. I just have a couple comments about what summarizing what I think the changes in the document entail. The Academic Integrity Committee has existed since 2016, and it's been collecting data since then on academic integrity violations. And there have been several iterations of the committee, but they've their purpose has been to generate edit policy on academic integrity violations, and also create a process for reporting and appeals and those kinds of things. So the latest iteration of this committee, Tom Taves, Seth McNeil, and I, our primary purpose when we started last year was based on feedback from faculty and students about what problems with the process to this point. And so our goal in the document that you've been given was to create a simplified reporting process. That was a big problem for faculty. And so you'll see in the document now, the process for a faculty reporting a violation is two things: talk to the student and file the report. And the report itself is basically the reporting process at this point takes some of the onus off the faculty to determine the severity and the classification of the offense. And that was something the faculty felt was difficult to determine. And related to that, in the document, you'll also see an attempt to clarify the definition of violations, those level 1, 2, 3 types of things. And there is some, I hope that we've made those the levels more clear in this document. There's a ceiling on the clarity here, and that ceiling is related to the fact that there is an ever-evolving number of ways to cheat. And so we are not able to totally make this a process with any sort of automaticity. The committee is going to continue to remain necessary, I think, to interpret certain kinds of offenses that we have not predicted. And I don't see any way around that to date. So simplify the reporting process to clarify the violations, and then also to clarify the responsibilities of everyone in terms of this process. So we have a section in there on the academic administration and their responsibility, the Academic Integrity Committee, what their responsibility is. And then I just want to highlight the last part of the document. I think it's at the very end, which is the responsibility of all faculty in this process. And this is the part that I think, at least for me, was most informative. There is an academic integrity center that collects a lot of data on violations of this type, and the data that we've been tracking since 2016 maps pretty much identically with what they're looking at, and the recommendations that come from that kind of body are, without removing responsibility from individual students for good behavior, that it would be wise for us as an institution to think about the fact that data clearly shows that that violations of academic integrity increase with basically pressure and opportunity, and all of our students are facing different levels of both. Clarity in our syllabi and stuff like that is going to help, but one other thing to think about, and this is not possible for every class, but one other thing to think about that I think is quite important, So 2/3 of all of our academic integrity violations come in the fall semester, and 2/3 of all the violations that come in spring and fall semester come in the second half of the semester. And this is, of course, in some ways, we probably think this is kind of common sense, right? The pressure is coming at midterms and at the end of the semester, and it's especially in the fall at the end of the semester where there's less of a break before the next semester, right? And that pressure is coming from home, or it's coming from career pressures, monetary pressures. We don't really ever know what the student is dealing with. And so there is a huge opportunity, and this comes very loudly from the International Center of Academic Integrity. We have a huge opportunity to structure our courses in such a way to reduce the pressure on students to cheat. And I think that's the part of the document that I think is new, and I think we should talk a lot more about. And our data, again, our data is sort of still flowing in, and it's only 4 years old or so. But as far as we can tell, if you have the opportunity, for example, in your course to make your major assessments at a slightly different time than the normal way to do it is usually done, I think that could have a huge impact on the pressure of your students to cheat. So those are the parts that I would like to highlight in this shifting document. And I don't know if we're voting on this today, but I would definitely be willing to take any questions. But that's all I have to say about it. Ken.
Okay. If we're going to do a vote, I did not set up a poll for this to be ready. So I can either do that real quick while people ask questions. What's the request of the committee, Ben? Would you like to have a vote today?
Well, the last time we talked about at the end of last semester, we did talk about voting on it in this session, but I don't think it's super urgent from my perspective. I don't know if the other committee members are here, but if we need to roll it to the next one, that's fine. I don't know how many people have reviewed it, so it's not. I don't really have a strong preference here.
Okay, this would be the second viewing and the second time it's come to Faculty Senate, so it should not, hopefully, is not new material to anybody. Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever you prefer. Our next meeting would be August 18th, but that would be after school starts, so I don't know if that would be any problem if we need to have this voted and implemented prior to the start of the fall semester, the official start.
I think from my perspective, I want most importantly for faculty to have reviewed the document and to be comfortable with it. The violations are going to roll in a little bit later than this, but the one thing that we might want to think about voting today is if you want to include language from your syllabus here, that we might want to approve this document prior to that. But the shifts in actually what constitutes a violation are not massively significant. I think we'll notice the differences in the reporting process, and so those will play out a little bit later in the semester.
Okay. Looking at the chat, Mark has mentioned that he thinks that the faculty would benefit from in-service training regarding conducting an initial interview with the students. Debbie agreed. Will there be an updated Word document for the policy to include in our syllabus?
So if you mean by that, well, first of all, to take a Word document could certainly be generated from the existing PDF. There are a couple of sections that I think would be useful for a syllabi. In terms of in-service training, I totally agree with that. I don't know. I would have to do some research on providing my summary of expert opinion on that, if that was something that I would lead. And I should also note that I am outgoing chair of the Academic Integrity Committee, and I have not handed that off to Tom Taves, who will be following up with me, but for me, but that will happen soon.
Okay. Nicole Orion asks, the proposed policy includes that new members are nominated by the outgoing AIC chair and ratified by the faculty senate. This differs from the traditional faculty senate committee processes. Why the difference?
As far as I remember, this was something that was de facto but not de jure, I think, in the committee process, but I'm not sure what other committees have done. So I don't really know the answer to that question, but I can look into it.
Okay. Nicole has another question.
Right.
Does the take, what was that? Someone was speaking in the background.
Yes, that's true, Nicole. I don't know if this is so Nicole, I see two questions from Nicole. Does the integrity of scholarship policy at the beginning differ from the policy currently included in the published bulletin? I think there are a few word changes, but it's not substantively different, no. And then second, yes, I do agree now that the department chair's terminology needs to be revised. So I think that can be done fairly quickly, but that did not occur to me yet. So thank you.
Okay. So if I'm not hearing a large push from you, Ben, to go ahead and hold the vote today, and since there may be some wording updates to do, it may be a cleaner document to go ahead and vote a final version
in August.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Ben or the committee on the revised academic integrity policy? We'll have a long pause as we wait for people to summon up the courage to unmute themselves. But
Just a
not,
very
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just very brief. I've had a chance to review the document and have been, in partnership with the committee over the last several years, and I'm fully in support of the revisions as Ben has laid them out, and appreciate tremendously the service that he and others have given on that committee. It looks good to me, and I'm comfortable with the changes.
Okay. Well, hearing no other discussion, thank you, Ben. Just reading some comments in the chat. Thank you, Ben, and for all the members of the committee for your work. This has been a tremendous blessing to the campus to have this kind of structure in place. I was here before we really had this kind of structure, and I've had to deal with violations before and after, and they are much smoother, much more clean to handle as we go through them. So just thank you for your work. Okay, then let's look at the next item on the agenda, which would be the faculty handbook revisions. In the past, we have gone through and updated the faculty handbook occasionally. The last big update happened, I think, 5-6 years ago, somewhere around then. And in just good practice, it's probably time to go through and look at that. But especially with all of the changes in structure, with the restructuring, it's probably definitely necessary at this point. Now, at the beginning during the announcements, I asked for patience and kind of grace as we figure out who does what and how as we move forward. But we probably do need to figure those things out, get them into a document that guides our activities. And what I'm looking for is going to be nominations for the committee that will go through and try to find those things that need to be updated and recommend updates. So the updates would be identified, made, and then brought back to Faculty Senate for discussion and eventually ratification. So right now, we're just looking for the people for the committee. Now, we actually have a number of we have a couple of committees that we have to go through and populate. So I do have a form that I'm going to send out. Oops. Oh, no, here it is. That I am going to send out now. Okay. And I'm also going to embed the link to the form in the chat. Now, don't vote on everything and click submit yet until we've talked about it, but I do want to go ahead and get the form out so that we can start collecting some information. Okay. Again, getting distracted by the chat window. So what we're talking about for this, the anticipation of the Faculty Senate exec was to go through and look at the top 5 willing candidates. Now, again, as we've talked about departures from normal Faculty Senate procedures, normally nominations are taken. We go through as members of the Faculty Senate exec, reach out to those nominated members and compile a ballot. That's how we generally do things in the spring. Because of timing and everything else, what we're going to do is a little bit different this time. And we're going to go through and put everybody's name on the list. And we're going to start looking at the highest vote getters and then reach out to them to see if they're willing to serve and kind of go down through the list that way. And we plan on bringing that list of names back to the August 18th meeting for ratification. So we'll still have a ballot, but it's going to be more of a ratification ballot because they've already received the kind of popular vote. We'll check to make sure they're willing and then bring them as a kind of collected slate. So I hope that's clear what we're planning to do. We're going to do that with the next committee that we're going to talk about as well. And get back to my agenda here. The next one that we're going to talk about is the Interim Academic Council. And for that, the restructuring process has also, in eliminating our division chairs, has also eliminated a group of people on campus who were tasked, in this case, by the administrative handbook or the administrative manual, I'm not really sure which one it's called, to go through and serve on our academic council. As those positions have been eliminated and we now have deans and program chairs, it was a good time to go through and revisit what that academic council should be structured as. The anticipation here is to also go through and do a nomination. If you look on the form has each faculty member's name, the kind of area or program that they work in, and it was also asked that we go through and put years of service, because some people that may be newer may not realize that someone else has only been here 1 year longer than they have. And some people have been here actually quite a long time. And my hat's off to some of those people that have extended service. I was not actually aware, so tip of the hat. So as we go through and look at this, the idea for the committee, this ad hoc committee for the Interim Academic council restructure would be, these would be the people that would go through and research to make recommendations and help answer questions from the faculty senate as to what the new academic council should look like. Okay. Private message in that. I will try to do better in the future. Okay. So, and I see some people laughing at me. Okay, using a wrong term. So as we're looking at this interim academic council restructure, the idea is that they would meet as needed to affect and create a ratifiable recommendation through faculty senate by the end of 2020. So there would be some timelining. I don't know exactly how much or little time this would require of people, but I would suspect there's going to be a number of meetings that'll have to go through, seeing what happens at our sister institutions, what happens as best practice in higher education for this. We do need, as one of our criteria on this, is there has to be a significant presence of faculty. The Higher Learning Commission requires that academic matters are the purview of faculty. And that's the purpose of academic council in many ways, is to go through and be that faculty voice in academic matters. So there will need to be that consideration, but there may be other considerations that we need to look at as well in terms of how this should be structured for us to move forward in the best, most helpful way possible. So that's the second column of the ballot. And I forgot to do something. And sorry, I am feeling a little scattered right now, trying to do too many things at the same time. We also have an ethnic diversity committee. Now, the ethnic diversity committee was recently approved and enacted by President's Council. It is, I think, officially 1 week old, this newly reformed ethnic diversity committee. And as part of that, President's Council is going to ask Faculty Senate, and they're also going to ask Student Senate to both nominate a representative. There are going to be additional faculty members and additional students that have voices that need to be at this particular table as well. So what we're looking for is someone that Faculty Senate feels and believes in can represent the faculty voice in issues of ethnic diversity as we're having these larger conversations on campus. So hopefully, and there's Lori. Lori Escobar has been named the chair of this committee and is here in case there are people that have questions about the nature, the structure, how often they're going to meet, anything of that nature before we nominate people to go through and be our representative. Now, again, we're doing things a little differently because this committee needs to get to work fairly quickly. We're going to go through and take the column, the nominations for our Faculty Senate representative for the Ethnic Diversity Committee as a vote. So the person with the highest votes will be considered our voted representative if they are willing. If they are not, we'll go to the second person on the list, and so forth. So we are looking for one person. They are going to serve a 2-year term. The terms of people on the committee are going to be staggered so that we're not losing everybody all at the same time and having to kind of start. There's going to be some continuity within this. For the faculty representative, they're going to start off with a 2-year term. Okay, so there are some questions. And Lori, I'm going to go ahead and unspotlight myself. So one question is, can you shed some light on the title, why is it not just the diversity committee? So I can speak to this from PC conversations. We were wanting to go through and start off with a narrower focus on this, and be able to go through and take a smaller issue and work on that. The committee may be expanded in the future, but we didn't want their mandate to be so large that the problem would be almost too large to try to tackle. Sometimes a lack of focus can almost lead to a paralyzation, because there's just too many things to do and too many things to try to tackle. So trying to focus it down onto ethnic diversity was a little bit more laser focused because of the most pressing nature, or the most pressing issues that were perceived. So for the diversity committee, how many people should we vote? Only one. That, since we're going through and taking this as a vote, only one person will be the representative. If we want to, I would say, I'm going to have to go through. I'm going to have to go through and figure out how we should do this. This question did not come up in Faculty Senate Exec. So I'm just going to pull an audible here and say, vote for your top 3 people, and we'll figure out who is the highest vote recipient out of that. A first, second, and third choice among a group this large should go through and give fairly representative statistics. So I think if we vote for our top 3 choices, and then we'll pick the one that has the highest number of votes that's willing to serve, I think that's how we'll go forward. Oh, from Christine. I am also wondering why we are not having just an Office of Diversity and Inclusion rather than just ethnic diversity. I hope that I have gone through and answered that from the past. This is Debbie. Actually, Tara and I are Zooming together. This title removes students with disabilities, which is 13% of our population. Again, I believe that I have addressed that as though. And Mark says that rationale displays institutional cowardice. I appreciate your opinion, Mark. I disagree with it, but I do appreciate that you're willing to share it. I don't know if you have any comments, Lori, about the choice of name. It seems to be generating some energy right now.
Right. Well, I think my hope is that it'll begin to evolve and change. And so, you know, this is the name that PC voted on to begin with. And so hopefully it can, you know, just start to evolve and change with the needs that we have. And, you know, I don't believe it was our intent or PC or anybody's intent to exclude anybody, you know, to intentionally exclude anyone. I think that was just what they were starting out with, and then I mean, and this is just at the beginning stages, as you know, Ken. It's just, I just found out Friday afternoon, so we're just trying to get all of this, you know, just the beginning of this together. So hopefully it'll come together pretty quickly, and we'll have some, I know there'll be amazing people on that group that will obviously have to just have a lot to discuss. So, and I'm sure that probably, that will be one of them.
Yes, and I also should go through and lift up again what you said, that the choice of name was decided by PC. It was not decided by anyone else on campus. It was a choice of PC. But we also had a good, healthy debate on what that name should be, and it was intentionally chosen. So it wasn't a thoughtless choice. It was a carefully considered choice. Other questions? Okay, so from Tanya, tilting a group or titling a group with ethnic diversity is exclusive to other forms of diversity. A diversity group could then focus on different focused initiatives. No one is saying that it's thoughtless. We are saying you didn't ask us, and now we're telling you what we think. Okay, fair enough. I can pass that along. I can take that back to PC. So, other questions? As with most things, there is a wide range of opinions, wide range of feelings on this, and I will just say, since not a lot of people are unmuting themselves, and those awkward silences just get more awkward the longer they go, I will go through and say that I'm happy that PC is taking a definite step forward. Some people may be looking for larger steps. Some people may be looking for smaller steps, but this is a step forward, and I am encouraged by that particular movement. Okay, well, not hearing anything else about.
What did you say, Ken? This is Mark.
Sorry, Mark, you were garbled. I couldn't make out what you said.
This is not a step forward. I don't know if my cell connection's going to do well. This is not a step forward. This is actually revisiting steps that have been taken in the past and have been lost. We have had this task force in the past, and we lost sight of it.
Okay. Okay, so looking at the chat, thanks to Lori. Tanya asked, it might be important to know who actually wants these roles rather than assuming we know who would be good for them. I don't think those are necessarily mutually exclusive. We are going to go, I mean, I think that the willingness to participate doesn't necessarily make someone a good or a bad choice. I think many times people are chosen because they are willing that have turned out to be bad choices. I think that we should look at this as to who we feel would be the best representation, and then go through and ask for willingness. We're not planning on twisting anybody's arm. I'm not going to go through and pull out my full-blown shame card on anybody. You were voted, you must, no, I don't plan on doing anything like that. But I will go through and ask people, and if they are willing, then we'll move forward. But no, I don't know that necessarily willingness to serve, because that willingness to serve may come with baggage that may or may not be helpful for the work of the committee. So, okay. Okay. Given that not everyone may have been able to participate today, I'm going to leave the nomination form open until noon tomorrow. I think that would be a reasonable time frame. This video is being recorded. I'll have the recording put up online shortly after this meeting's over, and I'll send out a link to the entire Faculty Senate so that they should have some time to review. I realize it is a little bit of a short notice, but it's also it's also a little bit longer notice than what we would have had in a traditional Faculty Senate meeting, where the vote was taken by only those present and tallied, minutes later. So I'm hoping to be a little bit more inclusive in those that may or may not have been able to attend at this particular time in that way. Looking at the agenda, there's only one thing left that we need to talk about, and that is our honorary and special members. And I will go ahead and pull up another poll, because at the beginning of each academic year, we do go through and vote. We do go through and vote honorary or special membership for the president, the vice president of academic administration, the vice president of financial administration, our registrar, and we also generally extend that that vote to Debbie Forshey-Sweeney, who has been a faculty in the past and very much appreciates working with Faculty Senate as a faculty member, and has traditionally been voted in with that. Going through and reminding people of the differences between special members and honorary members. So special members have all the rights and privileges of regular members. They're just not automatically members. Honorary members have those same privileges except for voting and in holding office. So they still have voice. They still are invited to meetings. They just don't have a vote. And in many cases, that's okay with them. I mean, I've never heard anyone say that the honorary membership was anything bad. Generally, the people that were voting for honorary membership have a vote in another venue on these kind of matters. So not having a vote in Faculty Senate is not so much of a problem. So okay. Again, trying to keep up with chat and everything else. We have 18 of 55 that have voted so far. If we can get that up, and just reminding people that the poll does scroll down. So I put the vote for the president, for the VPAA, VPFA, registrar, and Debbie Forshey-Sweeney, all on the same ballot, just to make the polling go a little bit faster. But if we could go through and vote on that, I would appreciate that. And here's what everyone's wanting to hear, is that as soon as the vote is done, I believe we will be adjourned. So we're making it through our agenda a little bit faster than I anticipated, but it's not a bad thing. I'm sure people have plenty of things to use that extra time on. Okay, votes are still coming in. But it's also around this point in where they usually start in the 70%ish range is where they tend to start stalling. So I'll kind of keep an eye on it. We're at 70% right now, 72. Let's see if we can get a few more votes in. %. Okay. Seems like we're stalled at about 75%. Oh, whoa, wow. 79. We jumped in. Give you just a little bit more time to, oh, votes are still coming in. A little bit more time to finish the polling. If you haven't had a chance to vote yet, please go ahead and finish your vote. Okay. Well, we've been stuck at 81% for almost 30 seconds, so I think I'm going to go ahead and end the polling. Give people a couple more seconds just in case you're just waiting to change your mind but need to hit submit. Okay. So I can go ahead and share the results. We have a vote for honorary membership for the president, honorary membership for VPAA, VPFA, same way, registrar the same way, and a special membership for Debbie Forshea Sweeney. So I do appreciate, and if you'll hang with me for just a second, I'm going to capture these polling results. Trying to do multiple things at once here. Okay, almost done. Okay. So, thank you to everyone that was able to be here and participate. Again, if you're watching this on the recorded version that I'll send out later today, please do the nominations by noon tomorrow, so noon on July 31st, and we will move. Faculty Senate Exec will use those nominations and the votes that people tallied, and we'll start reaching out to people probably early next week to see whether they're willing or not to serve in those ways. So again, thank you so much for being who you are, for working on so many things this summer, dealing with coronavirus, dealing with Canvas, dealing with restructuring. There's so much uncertainty right now. And I just really want to applaud everyone for the grit and resilience that you're showing, being able to step up to new challenges and tackle them head on. We have a lot going on. There's so many jokes right now about 2020 being one of those years that will just go down in the history books under, like the little asterisk by it or something. And and we're doing great. We're pushing forward. We may not always feel like we're getting done like everything that we need to be getting done, but whoa, and my come on. There we go. I was sitting too still for too long. Kruger Center, lights go off. So again, just thank you for all you do. Know that you're all in my prayers. I lift up the work that you do, with your students. And if we can just lift each other up in prayer and support each other, we'll get through anything. With that and God's help, anything's possible. So I want to call it there for the day. Have a good rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow at the coronavirus question and answer session at 10:30 on Zoom. So I'll see you then. Thanks a lot.